This is Sharif Jamil, National Coordinator, Indigenous Environment Movement, and that is from Bangladesh. This movement is administered by Bangladesh Puribesh Andolan Bapa. So as an environmental activist, we started our endeavor to know about our forest resources in the year 2007. And during that period, we organized a conference where we gathered the indigenous people, where we gathered the academicians and researchers, the policy makers, to know about the situation of our forest in Bangladesh. And to hold this conference, we communicated with the indigenous leaders and activists around the country. And we found Father Joseph Gomez of JPIC, He is very much close to the people in the Sylhet region, the indigenous community. So he was also included in the conference. From that conference, we came to know the forest resources of Bangladesh is really under threat because we are far beyond the reality. Now the forest resources of Bangladesh is just 6 to 8%. And mostly the hills that are under indigenous people are green, and the hills under forest departments are denuded. So we came to a consensus through that convention or conference that we must steer a movement to save indigenous environment. So we entered into Sylhet division and found the Khashi people, Khashi indigenous community. They cultivate better leaves for their means of livelihood, and for that reason they keep trees in the hills to keep their livelihood actually. So we started movement against tree logging in that area, and we found many policy loopholes, many corruptions, and many other things to be addressed actually. Here are many causes for tree logging. Not only the commercial activities are there behind, there are some other reasons behind. Like for Lawachora National Forest is a rare rainforest, and there is one indigenous village adjacent to Lawachora National Forest, which is Lawachora Khashipunji. So without consulting Lawachora Khashipunji's, Khashi indigenous community, and without consulting the environmental activists and organizations in the country, suddenly we found the government allowed Chevron to do seismic survey over there in Lawachora. So we put our argument in front of the government not to do 3D seismic survey inside such a critical area, which is protected area and declared by the government and managed under certain rules of protected area management. But government didn't follow it, Chevron didn't follow it, and they did 3D seismic survey. There was fire in Lawachora, there was the houses of indigenous people were shaken and breaked, and damaged. They were out of drinking water for many days, So this is one thing, that is multinational corporations are also entering into our forest and depriving our indigenous community. And another way of entire Sylhet region of Bangladesh, there are a lot of tea estates and tea gardens in Bangladesh, mostly in Sylhet region. And those tea estates are very much adjacent to the forest area where the indigenous peoples are living for many years. So now, as their livelihood is cultivating better leaves, so they kept tree, and trees got bigger and bigger. Now the tea estate owners and timber traders and with the corrupted forest department people started logging trees. So we steered a lot of movements against this sort of tree logging, and we must keep our trees, we must keep the livelihood of the indigenous people. So it's an environment and human rights issue. Now we want to put emphasis on the policy and the legal frameworks that we have in our country to protect the forests and indigenous people. The Forest Act 1927 in Bangladesh was formed by British in the year 1927, and the objective of Forest Act 1927 clearly explained that law was formed just to regulate the forest resources or forest related trades. But then the forest resources was more than 20% in Bangladesh. Now it is 6 to 8%. So now we have to go for conservation, and we have to stop deforestation. In other way, the indigenous peoples are very much deprived in our country. You know, they don't have land right, and recently government gave a statement in UN, which is very much frustrating, that we don't have any indigenous people in our country. So where we should give right to the indigenous community, that is happening all over the world. But Bangladesh is far behind in moving the backward position, you know. So we have to protect this sort of activities, we have to protect our environment, we have to protect our indigenous livelihood. Thank you.